Thunder 2, you're en route to a residential structure fire.
Hi, my name is Steve Doe. I'm the lieutenant on Engine 1 A shift. Every morning at 8 a.m. is when our shift change occurs. That's when the off-going crew and the oncoming crew exchange information, talk about any needs that they have on the apparatus or in the firehouse, and hand the rig over to the oncoming crew. In our case, we're A shift. We came on this morning and we took over the apparatus from B shift. So they just give us a quick rundown on what their shift looked like, what kind of calls they ran, any outstanding issues that they have with the apparatus or the station, just to set us up for success for the day. At that point in time, we start transferring our gear on and off. So the off-going crews are taking their personal gear off of the apparatus, and we're putting our gear on the apparatus, getting ready for the day and getting set up to run a call. Sometimes during that shift change, we can catch a call. So we're in service all the time, and that doesn't matter if we're doing something in the house or we're training or we're shopping. We are in service and ready to respond to emergencies. So even during that shift change period there, where ongoing crews are coming on and off-going are leaving, we're still available to run calls, and sometimes we will catch a call right there during that kind of pivotal moment, in which case we'll just scramble, get our stuff on the rig as quick as we can, and head out the door. Yeah, so as soon as we're done switching over crews onto the apparatus, we start going through a daily check of our equipment and the apparatus itself. So in our case, we're on Engine 1 today. So my driver operator is going through his checks on the apparatus to make sure that it's ready to respond to a call. So he's checking his emergency lights, checking his pump panel, checking all the hose loads, making sure that they're good to go. We're all checking our air packs to make sure that they're ready to be put into service. I'm logging my crew onto the apparatus for the day to make sure that we're all accounted for, and we have a personal accountability report of everyone that's working. Our firefighter is checking the medical equipment, checking expiration dates, making sure that we have everything that we need, and that our inventory is in place so that we're ready to respond. Yeah, so we're here for 48 hours straight. We work a schedule that's 48-96. That means we're on for 2 days and then we're off for 4. So obviously for that 2 days that we're here, we've got to meet all of just our basic needs, and that includes eating meals, getting sleep, all that kind of stuff. So we typically start our day by doing getting on the rig, doing our equipment checks, listening to our operational briefing, which kind of lines out what's happening in the whole system for the day, whether that be a special event happening in the city or certain companies going in and out of service for training opportunities, just so that everyone knows kind of what the system looks like, and we all have a broad picture of what the day looks like. And then after we're done with that, we typically try to get a little bit of food in our bellies so that we're ready to go for the rest of the day. And that's a good community time and a good time for the crews to catch up and find out what everyone got up to over the 4-day, and just kind of have a little family time and hang out. Yeah, so every day of the week here at PFA, we have kind of a different set of responsibilities that are in addition to obviously our core function, which is to run calls. On Mondays, which is today's a Monday, we do what's called apparatus checks and bay cleaning. So on the Mondays, we do a thorough walkthrough of all the equipment that we have on our apparatus, whether that be the engine or the tower, and you got to see a little bit of both of those today. So we'll pull the apparatus out onto the apron, and we'll put everything through a thorough function check. So some of what you're seeing in the video is going to be our driver operators, our engineers, operating the pump panel, making sure that we maintain steady pressures, making sure we have a good vacuum on our pump. You're going to see the truck engineer flying the aerial and checking all the different components of his apparatus, checking the auxiliary equipment, whether that be the extrication tools or lighting. Everything that we've got on the rig gets pulled out and checked thoroughly, and that's what we call a weekly check. So that's a bit more of a thorough check than our just normal daily morning check, and that's just to make sure that all of our equipment is ready. If we find any issues, then we'll address them either by forming them and getting to the appropriate subject matter experts, or taking care of it ourselves if we can. So as I mentioned before, we're always response ready. That's kind of our key point, and that's the thing that we live by. We've got to be ready to respond out the door and go operate on emergencies, because that's what we're here for. So whether we're doing apparatus checks, or we're shopping, or we're doing chores around the station, we're keeping an ear on the radio so that if a call drops for our apparatus, we're ready to run out the door. So what we experienced there was we were doing our apparatus checks, and then we got a medical call. So our calls come in all different variety. We're what's considered an all-hazard fire department. So we respond to every medical in the city: fires, hazmats, active events with assailants, really any kind of emergency that you can imagine. We are going to be part of the ticket that goes to respond on that. So the call that we witnessed there during our apparatus check was just what was considered an alpha medical. So our medicals are further differentiated by their severity level, and that's based on information that's gathered by the dispatcher. So the dispatcher is asking questions of the 911 caller, and based on those critical questions that they ask, they're going to code the medical and place it somewhere between an alpha, which is kind of your least acute, your sort of more minor emergency, all the way up to an echo, which would be your most acute emergency. Then that determines how we're going to respond to the call. So we're always getting out the door as fast as we possibly can to any emergency. But if it's an alpha medical, we're going to be going non-emergent. So that means we're not going to be driving with our lights and sirens. We're just going to be following the regular traffic laws en route to that call. And that's for a multitude of reasons. But the main one is that when we're driving emergent, there's a certain safety risk that's associated with that. Driving fast, driving with our lights and sirens, we don't do that unless we absolutely have to, and it's a true emergency. So if you see an apparatus cruising around town without their lights and sirens, they're likely going to a lower acuity call type. So as part of our response on medical calls, we partner with UC Health Ambulance Service. So we respond to those calls together. UC Health is our transporting agency, and they staff a paramedic and an EMT typically on their rigs. The call that we had, the first call we had this morning was a simple lift assist. So the person just needed assistance getting out of bed, and we were able to achieve that. We did need extra manpower to help that person. And then the second call that we saw was a medical assist law, which is another call type where we had law enforcement requesting fire and EMS for a person with a medical complaint. Again, that was a low acuity medical call. So every station in the city has kind of a different call volume and a different number of calls that they can expect to run. We never know when we're going to get them or how many we're going to get. But here at Station 1, we expect to run somewhere between 8 and 10 calls a day in a 24-hour period. Those calls can span, they can come in bunches, so we can have several during the day and none at night, or we can be quiet during the day and then be up all night running calls. We never know when they're going to come. But we typically expect to run somewhere between 8 and 10 calls in a 24-hour period here on Engine 1. And again, that varies from house to house, and it depends on, again, things that are going on in the city. So if there's a special event happening somewhere else, that might come along with some increased call volume. When the weather changes, we may see an increase in call volume downtown. When there's obviously significant weather events, then we definitely see an increase in call volume, whether that be for medicals, car accidents, fires, all of those things. So we have the opportunity here at Poudre Fire Authority to go out of service from time to time to train. The battalion chiefs and leadership make sure that we have our area covered by another apparatus while we're doing that. And what this is an opportunity for us to go out and do more extensive training exercises, whether that be pulling our hose lines or pumping our fire apparatus at the pump pit. You'll see a little bit of our training when we have our training block. And it's just keeping our skills sharp, making sure that we're ready for anything that we're presented with. We really take this profession seriously, and we want to be proficient and ready to perform efficiently and professionally when we get called to do so. So that's what our training is all about. We train every single day, whether that be a large exercise or just in a single company exercise, whether that be fire, EMS, hazmat, what have you. We're training every day and making sure that we're staying sharp. So as I mentioned, we're here in the house for 48 hours at a time. So it is a really interesting place to work because it's it's your job, but you're also hanging out with your coworkers, but they're also your family. And so a lot of the things that we do together are things that you would expect to do with your family or your friends that you live with at your home. So we go shopping typically on our first day of shift, and we get food that we need for the 48 hours. So here we typically are buying enough food for 2 dinners and 1 breakfast. And again, we are doing that together as a crew because we don't know when a call is going to come. Sometimes we'll be asked, hey, why do you bring the fire apparatus over to the grocery store? And the reason for that is because we need to be in service and we need to be ready to respond no matter what we're doing. So we'll bring our fire engine to our local grocery store, which is in our first due area, and we'll go shopping. But if a call comes in while we're in the grocery store, we'll have to cut and run. So we'll push our cart up to the front, tell the folks we'll be back, and we'll run on the emergency, and then we'll come back to our stuff. So we get that question from time to time of what we're all doing in there together, and that's what it is.
So in addition to the medical calls that we got footage of, we've also had a bunch of other call types during the course of this shift. We've had 18 calls to service so far during the course of this 48-hour shift. So far, we're about 30 hours or 35 hours into the shift. We've had 18 calls to service, everything from medicals, cardiac arrests, non-structure fires, unattended fire pits. And last night at about 2:20 in the morning, we responded to a multi-alarm residential structure fire. That was a attic fire.
You're en route to a residential structure fire, 6416 East Highway 14, map page 29, Robert 3. This is for a house on fire. Informant states attic is burning, nothing hazardous. There's also a wood burning fireplace inside. All 3 residents are evacuated. There were 2 counts in the house. Informant went back to pick up 1.
That response included multiple engine companies, 3 support companies, battalion chief, our partners in law enforcement and EMS. We had units on scene for a couple hours working the problem, which was a fire in an attic. Engine 1 had some great assignments. We were assigned to water supply. In the rural environment, a water supply is a challenging operation. It involves the coordination of tenders, a supply engine, and making sure that we can supply adequate fire to a fire attack. And Engine 1 was also assigned to the attack group, which means that we were operating in the function of overseeing companies that were both inside and outside of the structure involved in the firefighting activities. Overall, it was a relatively successful scene. We were able to extinguish the fire and get everyone home safely. After that call, we ran several medical calls, and we've just been busy and running out the door all day. It's been a great shift.
You know what it's like to be here for 48 hours straight. It's great. We have a really, really unique and cool relationship with our coworkers. They become definitely more than coworkers. They're family. We spend a great deal of time together, whether that be on emergencies or just be hanging out together. We eat together. We work out together. We'll watch shows together. There's a lot of fun conversations, a lot of laughs, and a lot of personal growth that we get to experience together through our lives, and that's something that makes the fire service unique and really special.